A very cheerful good morning to my dear children. So, today, welcome to the first session of social science in which we are going to study about the regional kingdoms. So, children, as we start, we come to the 7th to 12th century. As you all know, in 6th standard, we did the ancient history. Now, in 7th standard, we are going to do the medieval history. In that, we are going to study about the regional kingdoms from 7th to 12th century. Now, how the administration was carried out in the kingdoms and by whom, then emergence of the new dynasties, then rise of new kings and kingdoms, and many of the dynasties emerged after the 7th century, as I told you. Now, as you all know, and we read also earlier, that Harshvardhana was the last ruler who controlled a large empire in the ancient India. Shortly after his death, his empire broke up and many new kingdoms appeared in the northern India. The Chamanas and Gujara Pratiharas were the main kingdoms which came up. So after his death, many new kingdoms and dynasties they came up and they fought against one another for power and influence. Now, here you can see the map where in red, it is covered. This is all a kingdom. These are all small dynasties and empires. These are all empires and these are all kingdoms. Why are they called fluctuating frontier? Because, as you all know, that the new kings and empires they didn't come up from themselves. In fact, they fought against one another for power, influence, political awareness, politically they wanted to get into the kingdoms. Now the three empires were Rashtrakuta, Pallavas, Samarpura, and the kingdoms were Chamanas, Pallas, Gujara, Pratiharas. This was after the death of Harshvardhana. Now, what is the difference between dynasty, kingdom, and empire? A dynasty is a family of rulers who rule over the country for a long period of time, and it is inherited by the children from their grandparents or their parents. Now, what is a kingdom? A kingdom is often called a monarchy. What is a monarchy? Where the kingdom is looked after by a king or a queen, and usually they inherit the position from birth to become leaders or head of the state. Now, what is an empire? An empire is a group of nations which is either governed by a government or an emperor or empress, and it is to an extent greater than a kingdom because it is a group of nations. Now, you have understood the difference between a empire and a kingdom and a dynasty. So now, who how did the kingdoms and empires they came up? And who were the Samantas? They were the people who actually helped the kings and the empires to come up and fight against one another, be strong with weapons and politically also. So Samantas were actually big landlords also. Then they were subordinates to the existing kings who were existing, and they used to bring gifts for the king. Then they provided military support also, and they gained power and wealth and gave also power and wealth by supporting the king. Then, in the end, they declared themselves as Mahasamantas and Mahamandaleshwara. So, this was all about the Samantas, who were actually the subordinates or the supporters of the king or the empire. Now, as the new kings, as you can see here, the new kings and dynasties had come up. Now, who were the kings and which were the dynasties? Danti Durga, who was a Rashtrakuta chief in Deccan, he came up, and Kadamba, Mayura Sharman, who was in Karnataka, he also fought for power and influence and get got into a empire. Harichandra, Gujara Pratihara, they were in Rajasthan. Now, Danti Durga was a Samanta. And who were Samantas? The subordinates of the king. So Danti Durga, as he was a Samanta, he wanted to change himself into a Kshatriya because he wasn't a Kshatriya, he was a Samanta. So now what did he do? He performed a ritual called Hiranyagarbha, the golden womb. Hiranyagarbha was a ritual which was performed to become a Kshatriya. Now both Harichandra and Mayura Sharman, both of them, they were Brahmins and from resourceful families who later established kingdoms. I hope this part is clear with you. These are the new kingdoms and dynasties which came up. Now, here you can see the Pala dynasty. The Pala dynasty was established by Gopala in the Bengal region in 750 CE. Another dynasty which came up. What was a dynasty? A family business which from the grandfather to the child it was inherited by the son. So this is the Pala dynasty where a Goda king named Shashanka had died without leaving a successor. He did not have a successor because it was a dynasty, so he had to have a successor, but he did not have. So Gopala was elected a ruler by the chieftains of the Bengal and Bihar regions. Did you get it? So who was elected? Gopala was elected as the chieftain of the Bengal and Bihar regions of the Pala dynasty. Now, what are the learning outputs? What are the things that we have actually learned today? To trace the patterns of political developments and military conquest of the Gujara Pratiharas, the Rashtrakutas, the Palas, and the Chahamanas. These are the kingdoms and empires that had come up. Now, develop an understanding of the connections between political and economic processes through the exploration. One specific example is the Cholas. Then, activity which I'm going to give you in the worksheet will be completed very easily once you go through the whole slides of the flowcharts and with the photographs. It will be very easy to do. Now, as we all know that this was the first day, in the second session we'll be continuing the whole chapter. So take good care of yourself. Stay tuned for the second session.